Now, mindset is something that maybe doesn't come to mind initially when you're thinking about running an e-commerce business. But as you'll learn and as I'll talk about in this video, mindset is such a huge part of your success in business, and not just that, success in life. And it's one of the reasons why we have mindset as part of our training and as part of our coaching as well, because whether you are going through a challenge or you're having a difficulty or a bad day, or just need someone to kind of talk to and give you a point of view that maybe you don't see, well, that's extremely helpful. All right, so let's go ahead and dig into this content. All right, so mindset can make or break your business. And in fact, like I said, mindset can make or break almost any area of your life. It's that important. That's why we talk about it. Now, we're going to talk about different areas of mindset, but it's important to have the right mindset about starting or growing your business, because the biggest misconception, in my opinion, online is that it's easy to start a successful online business. So we see all the pictures of fancy cars and houses and screenshots and people talking about overnight success. And yes, it's true that the internet can be very powerful and very lucrative, and you have a lot of advantages when it comes to starting a business. And all that, there's all these positives, but many times the realistic positives are outweighed by just all this overblown hype and misconceptions about it being easy. Okay, just because it's possible doesn't mean it's easy. Now the truth is, just like any business, it takes time, money, patience, and persistence to build a successful online business. And as we've talked about in the past, that's actually a good thing, because people who aren't willing to do that will weed themselves out, leaving more opportunity for people like you and me. Now, it's also important to remember that things will not be perfect. Right? So as you're going through your journey and you're running your business, things will not be perfect. They never are. Remember, like I just said, if it were easy, everyone would do it. And just like being in shape. If it were easy to get toned with big muscles and a six-pack, then everybody would do it. Everybody would just say, hey, I feel like having a six-pack, so I'm gonna get a six-pack. But it's not easy. So we all know what it takes to do that. It takes lots of exercise. It takes eating right, and there's no secret to it really, but it just takes a lot of dedication. And so just remember, things won't be perfect. Even for our students, our clients that are running successful businesses, this is still a mindset shift for them, where they may have a really, really big month, and then they just have a decent month, and they think something's wrong, when in fact that's just business, where you can't expect every day and every month to be the same. Just like a restaurant, for example, on a Monday they may have a terrible night where they don't really make any money when they're open, because it's just a Monday, and then on a Friday or a Saturday they may have a huge night, or maybe on a Tuesday they have a terrible night, but then the next Tuesday maybe there's some events, some private events that are at the restaurant, and they have a huge night. Okay, so we have to understand things are not going to be perfect from day to day, but we have to look at that as a positive. Now, with that said, I want to go over some principles you'll find valuable on your journey to success. These are things that I've learned, that I found valuable from my own mentors, and I'm excited to share them with you as well. The first one I want to talk about is perspective, because going back to the misconception of it being easy to be successful online, well, we know it's not easy, but we do have to keep perspective when we do run into challenges. So we're doing things like spending money on Facebook ads and putting a store up, and everything we do, we can literally do from a laptop in the comfort of our own home, and that's pretty amazing. So keeping the perspective that you're creating a business And also that a traditional business, meaning if you were to go to a local shopping center and open up a retail store, that would generally take out, you generally have to take out probably a loan, you'd have to pay rent every month, you'd have to hire employees right away, you might have to put out a lot of money for inventory, because obviously you can't drop ship from a physical location, not to my knowledge. So it's important to keep that perspective of, the challenges that we face and the steps that we have to take to work towards being successful are actually, um, the word I'm looking for is, I guess they sort of pale in comparison to the steps that you used to have to take to do these things. And that's not to say that one model is right or wrong. It's just to say that if you keep that perspective of, hey, look, I can literally get a business up, running, and making sales in like a week. That's pretty amazing. So keeping that perspective is powerful, okay? Because like we said, with traditional business, you have all that stuff right up front, and then because you've put out so much money in the beginning, for many businesses, traditional businesses, it takes years to get profitable, if it even gets profitable at all. Actually talking to somebody who opened up a business and not too long ago, and they were saying that they hope to break even on their investment in 2 years. So that was what they had forecasted for themselves. Hey, look, yeah, we think we'll break even around our 2-year mark, and then from there we'll start profiting. So think about that. And in the online world, we can see results much, much quicker. And I think keeping that perspective really helps with mindset, because it helps you to really kind of take a step back and say, you know what? Yeah, we have some challenges. Yeah, it takes work, but considering what it could be, I'm not going to complain about this. All right. And like we said, that's because your business can be launched virtually overnight with minimal expenses. Now, another a mindset principle I want to talk about is action, because as we know, nothing happens without action. And that may sound so simple, but when you really actually think about it, I'm going to go over an example in just a minute. It really kind of hits you over the head. So what I've learned and what I've seen, and you may relate to this, is people spend so much time studying and reading and learning and watching videos, whether they're YouTube videos or webinars. They spend all their time doing this, but they never really take action. So it's just kind of like reading a blog post and getting excited, or watching a webinar and getting excited. You get that initial thrill of, this is possible. Well, what you'll soon realize is that if you don't take action on what you're learning about, then the thrill will quickly wear off, and then you're on to the next thrill. And then you watch another video and you read something else, and you get excited again about what is possible, about the potential. But if you never take action, you don't get results on it. And unfortunately, that is what the majority of people do. They just read and they watch and they learn, and they just get excited about something over and over again, but they never actually take action on it. And the only way to actually see tangible results where something good happens is to actually take action. Now, I want to give you an example here. So this is kind of something that will hit you over the head. So what you see here is a frustrated golfer. So let's say that I wanted to become a good golfer, and I've used this example in the past. I want to become a good golfer. So imagine if you said to me, hey, what are you doing to become a good golfer? And I said, well, I've been reading some blog posts on how to swing the golf club, and I watched a couple videos on YouTube on how to putt the ball in the right grip, and I'm going to be good at golf. I'm going to be good at golf soon. You would be like, think about how silly that sounds, that I would watch some videos and I would read some blogs, or even buy some courses and go through the videos, and suddenly I expect to be good at golf and go out on the golf course and actually be good and actually shoot a good score. Okay, it's ridiculous. Really, the only way that I'm actually going to get better and good at golf is by taking action, which I actually did last year. I actually went and I played golf in the past, but I actually took lessons again because I wanted to get better. And when you take lessons, you actually have somebody that is watching you, and you're implementing every time you go, you're swing and you're getting feedback. And all that is what really leads to the results. And I actually saw another funny example not too long ago where it would be like reading books on martial arts and then expecting to be a UFC fighter, right? Just sounds silly. You would never actually be able to do that without actually going in and taking action and practicing and implementing the things that you're reading and you're learning about. All right, now this next principle I really love, and this is one that when I embraced it, it really made a huge difference in my business and actually in life as well. And the principle is interpretation equals reality. All right, so what I mean by that is you, as an individual, get to choose your interpretation of any event or situation. So if you want to interpret it as a negative event, something happens, then it'll be a negative event. And if you want to interpret it as a learning experience, well, then it'll be a learning experience. Now, of course, there are things in life that are just negative. And there's really no way to say that, hey, this is a positive event. But I remember one time I was reading a book by Brian Tracy, and he said, well, we can't control everything that happens, but what we can control is how we react to it. So basically, your interpretation of anything, especially when it comes to business, is going to basically make your reality. And I'll just give you a real life situation, then we'll talk more about this. So let's say that I'm wearing a shirt to a party, and I don't know, I just think that the shirt is too big on me and that it's ugly. I'm just like, oh man, I don't know why I wore this shirt. I'm driving in my car and I'm like, why did I wear this shirt to this party? So if I get to that party and I walk in and I see two people across the room kind of whispering to one another and laughing, well, my interpretation might be that they are looking at me and laughing at my shirt. Okay, and then that turns into my reality, and I become very self-conscious about what I'm wearing because my interpretation becomes reality. I just assume I'm confirming what I already think. All right, so now let's say that I walk in and they're laughing, and instead I think, they could possibly be laughing at my shirt. They don't care that much about me. They're probably telling a joke to one another about somebody else. Well, then my interpretation is that they're not talking or laughing at me. It's something else. So whichever one I choose, whichever interpretation I choose, it becomes my reality. And then I'm going to basically act and believe from that point forward and based on what that interpretation is. And so this may sound kind of confusing, but it's a very important principle that you'll see present itself a lot in your life and your business. Now let's talk about some examples of poor interpretation. All right, let's say you spend $50 on ads and you don't make a sale. So a poor interpretation on that would be, this is a scam. I spent $50 and I didn't make a sale. This is a scam. All right, that interpretation is basically going to lead you to everything that happens is going to basically confirm that for you. Anything that happens, oh, I knew it was a scam. Oh, so that is, an example of poor interpretation. That becomes your reality, which makes it very hard to succeed. Another one would be, I've tested 5 products and nothing is working. And then the interpretation is, I'll never be successful. All right, so again, if you have that interpretation based off testing 5 products, then really that becomes your reality. And then anything you do in your business that doesn't go perfectly, you're going to confirm that interpretation and that reality. Say, yep, I knew it. I knew this would never be successful. So you launch an ad and Facebook disapproves the ad. You say, oh, yep, there it is. I knew I wouldn't be successful. That becomes your reality. Versus if your interpretation was, which we'll talk about, was more positive, and then let's say you got an ad that wasn't approved, you'd instead say, oh, let me set up a new ad because I must have done something in this one to get it disapproved, right? It's just something that happens, and then your reality is like, okay, I'm just moving on from it. It doesn't stop you. let's talk about examples of good interpretation with those same examples from the last slide. So when you spend $50 and you don't make a sale,